In the year 536 AD, the sun stopped shining. Not for a day, not for a week, for almost 18 months. Even at noon, the sky stayed dull and grey. Crops failed, famine spread. People believed the world had ended. Some believed it was God's punishment. Ancient writers called it worst year to be alive. Today, we understand what caused it, and that understanding is what makes it frightening, because it can happen again. For centuries, these stories were treated like myths, exaggerations from a dark age. But recently, science found the smoking gun, hidden deep beneath the ice of Greenland and Antarctica. Scientists drilled miles down to collect the ice cores. These are the physical timeline of Earth's atmosphere. And in the layer for 536 AD, they found something shocking: sulfur, bismuth, and volcanic glass. Here is the mystery solved. A massive volcano erupted, likely in Iceland. The blast shot millions of tons of sulfur into the stratosphere, high above the clouds. This sulfur turned into a giant mirror. It reflected the sun's heat back into space. But it didn't stop there. More eruptions followed in 540 and 547 AD. The Earth never had a chance to breathe. The planet was locked in a volcanic winter. Temperatures dropped by 2.5 degrees Celsius. That sounds small, but for a farmer in the 6th century, it was the difference between life and death. This was the birth of the late antique Little Ice Age, a century of cold that rewrote the rules of human civilization. And as the world grew colder, a new invisible enemy was waking up. In 541 AD, just 5 years after the sun dimmed, the Plague of Justinian arrived. It was the first recorded appearance of the bubonic plague, and it was devastating. Why did it happen then? Science points to the Climate-Disease Nexus. The extreme cold and weird rain patterns pushed rats and fleas out of their natural homes. They moved toward human cities looking for warmth and food. At the same time, people were already starving. Their immune systems were broken. In the capital of Constantinople, the plague was so bad that they stopped burying the dead. They simply filled all towers with bodies because there was no more room. Some say the empire lost half of its people, but the Little Ice Age didn't just bring death, it forced the world to move. In Central Asia, the grass on the Great Steppes dried up and died. Nomadic tribes like the Avars and the slaves had no food for their horses, so they migrated. They pushed into Europe and toward China, crashing into old empires like a wave. But in the south, the story was different. In the Arabian Peninsula, the colder weather actually brought more rain. Dry deserts turned into green pastures. This helped camel herds grow and gave a massive advantage to the early Islamic armies, while the great empires of Rome and Persia were weak from plague and cold. A new power was rising from the sands. The year the sun disappeared was ending the old world and carving out the borders of one we live in today. We know this happened because people all over the world describe the same impossible sky. In Constantinople, the historian Procopius wrote something terrifying. For 18 months, the sun gave forth its light without brightness, looking more like the moon than a star. Even at midday, people cast no shadows. The sun was pale, bluish, and weak. In China, the disaster became undeniable. In August, the middle of summer, yellow ash fell from the sky and snow began to cover the ground. Crops died, food disappeared. In some states, up to 18% of the population was lost to starvation and chaos. In Ireland, the records are brutally simple. They called it a universal failure of bread. For years, the harvests failed again and again. For the people of 536 AD, This was not just a bad season, it was a world without a heartbeat. But how does a world without a sun eventually wake up? For over 100 years, the earth was in a coma, but around the year 640 AD, the ice cores show a sign of hope. Scientists found a new spike of lead pollution in the ice. This sounds like a bad thing, but it was actually a great news. It meant that humans were mining and smelting again. Trade was returning. Since gold was hard to find after the collapse of Rome, Europe switched to silver coins. This small change helped to build the economies of the Middle Ages. It was the first sign that the Dark Ages were finally finding their right. The year 536 AD teaches us how thin the line is between civilization and chaos. We live on a planet that can be changed by a single volcano, on a continent we haven't even named yet. But it also shows our resilience. Even when the sun turned blue, even when the bread failed, and even when the plague arrived, humans kept records. We kept planting seeds and we waited for the sky to clear. The sun eventually returned. The world it shined on was never the same again.